Have you noticed how buying a home has become almost unattainable, even for people earning decent salaries? It's a quiet frustration that many feel but rarely talk about. You might think with a good job and stable income, owning a house should be within reach. But for millions of young professionals in the United States and Europe, the reality is different. It isn't just about not earning enough. It's about the subtle ways modern life drains your financial capacity before you even consider a down payment. Let's take a real example. Imagine someone in their early 30s living in a mid-sized American city. They earn $60,000 a year, which seems like a comfortable salary. After taxes, that comes to roughly $45,000 a year in take-home pay. On paper, it should cover rent, some savings, and everyday expenses without too much stress. Now consider typical monthly costs. Rent for a modest two-bedroom apartment can easily run $1,500. That's $18,000 a year, nearly 40% of take-home pay. Add a car payment, let's say $300 a month, and that's another $3,600 annually. Student loans, credit cards, and small lifestyle expenses like gym memberships, subscriptions, and dining out might add $5,000 more a year. Suddenly, almost half of your income is gone before you even start thinking about saving for a home. In Europe, the situation looks similar. Someone earning 40,000 euros per year may take home around 30,000 after taxes. Renting an apartment in a major city could cost 12,000 euros annually. Add transportation costs, utilities, student loans, and discretionary spending, and it quickly becomes clear why saving for a house seems impossible. Even with a respectable salary, the cumulative cost of living eats into any financial progress. The first uncomfortable truth is that most people underestimate the effect of lifestyle inflation. As salaries increase, so do expectations. A slightly nicer apartment, a newer car, occasional luxury purchases. Individually, they feel manageable, but over time, they silently erode the money you could be saving. Many professionals genuinely believe they are making smart decisions, yet the accumulation of small choices undermines long-term goals. Let's put some numbers to it. Assume our 30-year-old wants to buy a $300,000 home. A standard 20% down payment would be $60,000. If they manage to save $1,000 per month, which requires strict budgeting, it would take 5 years to reach that down payment, and that assumes nothing else changes. Rent is still due, unexpected expenses appear, interest rates may rise, and lifestyle costs creep up. For most people, this reality makes homeownership seem just out of reach, regardless of income. Beyond math, there's a psychological factor at play. Many young earners fall into what could be called a status-driven spending trap. Seeing peers or colleagues in larger apartments, driving newer cars, or taking frequent vacations creates subtle social pressure. It's not a conscious decision to overspend. It's a response to perceived norms. Each small, justified purchase feels harmless, yet cumulatively it reduces the ability to save for long-term goals like a home. Credit card debt and other forms of consumer borrowing make the problem worse. Many Americans and Europeans carry balances that may seem minor on a monthly statement, but interest compounds and repayment schedules can stretch years into the future. Each extra payment siphons away funds that could otherwise contribute to a down payment. The system, in a way, encourages short-term consumption while making long-term goals feel distant. There's also the hidden effect of rent versus mortgage psychology. Many people renting apartments unconsciously equate rent with a normal recurring cost without realizing that their monthly payments could be redirected toward building equity in a home. The difficulty is that rent seems immediate and unavoidable, while the thought of saving tens of thousands of dollars for a down payment feels abstract and far away. Our brains are wired to prioritize immediate pressures over distant goals, which reinforces the challenge. Ignoring these realities has a long-term impact. If lifestyle inflation, debt, and rent consumption continue unchecked, years pass without significant savings. A home that could have been attainable in 5 years may now require 10 Meanwhile, rent rises, interest rates fluctuate, and the psychological stress of feeling behind peers builds quietly. Even strong salaries don't solve the problem if financial choices are reactive rather than deliberate. Part of the issue is that society frames earning more as the solution. Many believe that if they just get a raise or a better job, a home will become affordable. But without understanding the underlying pressures, higher income often leads to higher spending, not higher savings. The math doesn't change. Lifestyle choices and obligations scale alongside income. The result is that even people who should theoretically be able to buy a home remain financially stuck. Understanding these patterns is not about blame, it's about clarity. The system isn't designed to make homeownership impossible, but it's structured in ways that favor those who can think ahead, resist small social pressures, and make intentional decisions about spending and saving. Financially intelligent people approach this differently. They don't necessarily earn more, and they don't deprive themselves of life's pleasures. Instead, they evaluate priorities clearly. They understand which purchases build value and which subtly consume financial flexibility. They recognize the social pressures to keep up and make conscious decisions in spite of them. Over time, this mindset allows them to accumulate savings for a down payment without extreme sacrifice, while others may struggle for decades. By looking at the numbers, understanding psychology, and recognizing the invisible pressures of modern living, the challenge of homeownership becomes less a matter of luck and more a question of mindset and strategy. It doesn't guarantee a home tomorrow, but it provides clarity about why many people struggle and what habits quietly undermine financial goals. Continuing from the challenges we discussed earlier, it's important to explore how people who eventually manage to buy homes think differently, not because they earn more, not because they have secret tricks, but because they approach money with clarity and intentionality. Let's revisit our 30-year-old professional. After years of struggling to save, many people would assume the solution is extreme sacrifice. Skip every meal out, never travel, or live in a tiny apartment. But that's rarely necessary. The people who succeed don't remove pleasure. They shift priorities and understand the true cost of choices. For example, consider a car. Instead of buying a new high-status vehicle, a financially mindful person chooses a reliable, moderately priced car. It meets their needs, costs less upfront, and requires lower insurance and maintenance. This decision might save hundreds of dollars per month, which can be redirected toward long-term goals like a down payment. Social spending is handled similarly. Rather than avoiding all outings, they evaluate the value of each expense. A night out with friends isn't bad, but frequent costly events add up. Awareness allows them to participate without undermining savings goals. Over time, these deliberate choices create a margin for accumulating wealth. Another key mindset is understanding debt. Not all debt is equal. Mortgages can be a tool for building equity, while high-interest credit cards and consumer loans quietly erode wealth. Recognizing the difference helps prevent small, recurring payments from dominating take-home pay. Let's look at some simple numbers. Suppose our professional earns $45,000 after tax and has managed to trim lifestyle inflation, debt, and unnecessary expenses. Instead of saving $1,000 per month, they can now save $1,500. That means the $60,000 down payment could be reached in just 4 years rather than 5, despite maintaining a reasonable lifestyle. Over a decade, these incremental improvements can make a dramatic difference. Psychology plays a large role. People who eventually achieve homeownership are conscious of social pressure. They recognize that much of it is arbitrary. Friends or colleagues might spend more, but comparing yourself to others is a trap. Decisions are made according to personal priorities, not the perceived status of peers. This awareness is subtle but powerful. It prevents slow erosion of savings over time. Planning also matters. Financially intelligent individuals view savings as a structured, ongoing process rather than an afterthought. Automatic transfers, dedicated savings accounts, and intentional budgeting reduce friction and ensure progress continues. Even when life gets busy, it's not a restrictive or stressful process. It's a reliable system that respects human behavior and avoids reliance on willpower alone. Now consider the long-term impact. If our professional continues with this mindset, they not only save for a down payment, but also maintain financial flexibility. Emergencies don't derail progress, lifestyle choices remain balanced, and the psychological burden of feeling behind diminishes. When interest rates or property prices shift, they are positioned to act rather than react. Over time, this disciplined, intentional approach compounds into a real opportunity to buy a home without extreme strain. It's also worth noting that achieving homeownership doesn't require waiting for perfect conditions. Many people delay saving because they feel they need a massive salary increase, a perfect job, or a dramatic life change. The truth is, small, consistent, and deliberate actions often matter more than waiting for the ideal moment. Progress is incremental, and consistency builds momentum. Another consideration is lifestyle expectations. Financially intelligent people recognize the difference between needs and desires. Owning a slightly smaller apartment or living in a less trendy neighborhood doesn't diminish quality of life, but it may accelerate the path to home ownership. This perspective doesn't require sacrifice for the sake of it. It simply aligns choices with long-term goals. Even as housing markets fluctuate, the principles remain the same. Prioritize saving, manage debt, resist unnecessary spending, and make intentional decisions. These behaviors don't guarantee a home tomorrow, but they create clarity, reduce stress, and increase the probability of achieving the goal without overextension. It's a rational approach grounded in understanding how money actually works in everyday life. Ultimately, this topic is less about wealth and more about awareness. Knowing why most people struggle to afford a home provides insight into human behavior, social pressures, and systemic patterns. Recognizing these factors allows anyone to make smarter choices, not because they are morally superior, but because they understand the subtle dynamics at play. The reality of modern homeownership is uncomfortable, but clarity is liberating. Seeing the numbers, understanding lifestyle inflation, and acknowledging psychological pressures doesn't make anyone guilty. It simply illuminates the path forward. Financially intelligent people don't rely on luck or extreme income. They rely on perspective, intentionality, and patience. By focusing on clarity rather than perfection and on deliberate decisions rather than instant gratification, the path to owning a home becomes tangible. It's not fast, it's not flashy, but it's real. Over time, small decisions accumulate into meaningful progress. So if this analysis has given you a clearer picture of why buying a home feels impossible and how to approach it more intelligently, consider subscribing. Understanding these patterns is the first step toward making deliberate choices that respect both your present life and your long-term goals.